ban or the Renata ban. Because, like, if you ban the Renata, right, and they take away the Wukong, then, like, yeah, it could present hard options. They will leave it open. Wukong still gets banned, so you would think that this should be a pretty easy choice for the side of RNG.
Yep. Let's be real, though. Both supports do have pocket picks, so even if we see the Renata here, don't put it out of Lumel for something like a Bard in the future. However, AD carry here, Lyric, seems to be the priority, and RNG are going to take away Lights Aphelios.
Yeah, so even despite the fact that Renata's open, I mean, Ming has only played it once, but we came into the day with Xiaohu of not having him play Taliyah so far this split. That didn't matter. Seems like they still do just prioritize Gala on this pick that did get a pentakill in game 1 as compared to maybe looking for that pick that could have given them more options. And now for LNG, and maybe that's the read, right? Maybe the read is like, hey, like, this is fine to come through because, like, Kalista's not open, so nothing they'd feel comfortable necessarily pairing that Renata with down in the bottom lane for LNG. Now, just looking at where they could go. This time around with Poppy now taken off the table, I feel like this is where Viego's prio really should rise quite high, especially for LNG, where it's like, we've had a lot of different picks from Tarzan. He's played the Volibear, he's played the Trundle, he's even played the Nocturne this split. But, yeah, it feels like that being a little bit ignored this series so far, and instead going to opt to take Xiaohu off the Taliyah.
And it's more picked for Wei as well. Like, it's his most played champion, so we've taken the Taliyah here, which, by the way, folks, has been taken into the jungle by some of our junglers in the league. Will be foregoing the Viego, as you talked about. Now, the Renata, not played by Ming. You mentioned that a little bit earlier. It is Lwandy's most played. For Lumel, he hasn't picked it up yet, however. And for RNG, as they flash it around, we do get Xiaohu back on the old tried and tested. The Pog Lissandra returns.
He's 5-1 on the pick so far this split. It is by far his most comfortable champion to be able to come through. Now for RNG, I mean, they already kind of hovered that support pick. You would expect it to potentially come through, but no. I mean, just another team, even going back to what we said about JDG earlier in the day, about some teams not leaning on strong picks. And I feel like for RNG, it's probably the fact that, like, sure, Renata is there, but you have Ming, you have a player who's very comfortable in playing things like the Nautilus, and they're like, hey, we're fine leaving support 2, 4, 5, so we'd much rather get a high prio jungler now, especially with 3 taken off the board. 4 if you count the fact that, yeah, Taliyah's a flex. We've actually only had it 5 times so far in the LPL as a jungler, but, right, still technically there. And now we are going to get Tarzan and Doinb on something a lot more proactive. We've had 2 very hard scaling-oriented drafts come out from LNG so far, but this time around, we're going to get to see if they can finally start pairing up as a unit and doing what Wei and Xiaohu did in Game 1.
I mean, it feels like mid-jungle going to be talked about a lot here in this game, and especially when we get Tarzan's Lee Sin. People around the world, you know, might know some great Lee Sins. I think Clid's one of them. I feel like over the years, Tien has showed against G2 especially. EU fans feel that. That there are some great Lee Sin players. Tarzan's one of them for sure, as he's still got one of the top LPL clips as a highlight. With mid-jungle there, Lyric, let's start talking about some of the solo lanes, some of the leftover picks. Kench from RNG, Renata from LNG, so we have a lot of support bans coming through. And the GP against Breathe, when we know there's a lot of AoE already on RNG.
Yeah, this feels like we also might just get like a throwback to spring of getting the old favorites traded, the old Nautilus LEona trade that we grew so accustomed to. Not only in spring, that was last year as well. Just right every game of those going back and forth. And LNG also targeting out a top laner coming through. So feels like, especially for top lane, right, a lot of the go-to safe picks taken off the board. Gwen really being the only standout still there. I guess Sejuani as well is something we've obviously seen rise a lot in prio. Certain teams have Jax up there as well as like a thing that does not have too many answers. But LNG just going to look to take away the Nautilus.
And
so
give Top a counter pick.
LEona.
I mean, Lyric, this is Panda C's debut. And giving Top a counter pick here, so we know there could be some direction being added to LNG as a trial.
Yeah, and again, I really want to see where Breathe especially goes for his pick. I mean, the fact that you also have the Viego in the jungle maybe could just set them up to go for the Gwen yourselves. So that's kind of what I'm keeping my eye on. And then, like you said, it'll be on Panda C to answer with where he wants to go. RNG so far having a really solid like engage options coming through with both the LEona and the Lissandra. So not really needing any CC up in that top side.
Until we get Breathe back on the Classic. Even in Game 2, I felt like he was the strongest member as LNG was sieging their base. So RNG get themselves the rounded composition. Lyric, hold on that thought. As I always say, we'll talk about it in a second. Tell me what you take in the top side if you're Panda S+.
I mean, I hit on the Jax. Jax being the one that is left open. You have a fine time against the Gwen. And this would set up, like we did for Panda C, who, has been playing more carries, like in the LDL over his career, is a role that he was very comfortable with playing, and you even have the Weaver's Wall to enable this from mid lane. So we do actually get on 4-5, like, exactly what we expected. I kind of thought one team might throw us a curveball, especially knowing LNG bringing in Panda C, but this time I feel like scripts kind of flipped. Jax, right, we hit on side lanes. We've seen the power of him in side lanes. Feels also like we've seen him be a lot more relevant in some of these early skirmishes, just being able to get involved with the Counter-Strike. But still, everything starts off from mid-jungle for both squads, but in my mind, especially for LNG, with, if Taliyah can set up for Lee Sin coming in. RNG, we know it's going to be Xiaohu leading the charge once again. If he doesn't get as set behind as he did in game 1, you really could have huge team fights with the amount of lockdown coming through this mid and support.
I'm kind of excited to see it. Lyric, I will say, though, it's ironic that we get a Jax top on LNG. Panda C comes through, debuts, and plays Arla's champion pool. Like, Arla is known for Jax top, Fiora top, even Camille. He has these bruises up there that are kind of his niche. And Panda C now has to show us why he's coming into the roster. I feel like there's a lot on this top laner, more than maybe just fixing communication issues, because Arla, despite having a bad split, we always know that his highs are high. This is going to be a big one here. LNG have already picked up a win. And against RNG, no doubt, this is where LNG could break that loss streak where they've only just managed to come across some of the weak opponents like IG, like LGD. They've been smashed by JDG. Even FPX 2-0'd them recently. LNG, are you back, or was it just a game 1-2 thing? Was it a poppy thing from Tarzan? Lyric, I have so many questions here as RNG go back to some of the normal drafts. Oh my god. Maybe that D is in control of it all. Yeah, that's what it is. Okay, I was wondering why we're going to space today.
we did just get the new Star Guardian animation with the banger Porter Robinson song. Gotta say, it was super sad. I loved every moment of it. It is actually great.
Kind of thought the deer was like Aurelion Sol's mother. Not gonna lie. New champion next year. It's a deer. And we've been watching it on Summoner's Rift the whole time. It only happens in a brief window where we actually see the deer, because of our great observers.
I thought you were talking about it's only a brief moment where deers, I guess, birth two giant cosmic dragon creatures.
You don't know the father. You don't know the backstory. League of Legends lore taking on new meanings here. I mean, look, the deer... maybe we shouldn't go into it.
I was gonna say, I'm not gonna ask you to expand. There's a time and a place. We will find the time and the place. But right now, last game of the night, it's a super exciting one, which again is great to see. Like LNG coming into it, and even RNG, one of our teams who haven't been, I think, like super bloodthirsty. And like really haven't been all year long, like really going toe-to-toe in these games. We're coming straight into this top lane matchup, right? Panda C on the Jax, of course, having some favorable trade patterns with that Counter-Strike. Lethal tempo, also like definitely better in the early game in like level 1 trades than the Conqueror, able to stack up easier, and just able to get a little bit more DPS coming through. Not really too worried about the Ignite on the side for Breed so far. So Panda C off to a solid start. And you can see LNG's game plan already, right? Tarzan pathing up towards his top side, going to enable and work with his soul laners.
Look at the defensive wards placed as well. One towards Scuttle, one towards the entrance in red side jungle. So, yeah, it couldn't be more obvious here. While full way, he will also be pathing up here, Lyric. And I want to talk to you about the defensive capabilities, at least in the early game for Viego, and how he kind of reads LNG's game plan.
Four-way, I think you have an easier time mid, considering that the trade pattern for like the gank setup for Xiaohu is a lot like easier to go for, right? I mean, you go with the claw straight into the W. It is harder for Taliyah to be able to set it up of just like finding the seismic shove. It is just all on, not only on you but also on your opponent to be able to easily dodge that. So for RNG, I think you have more options to be able to look mid and to be able to play through mid and jungle as to where Tarzan. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit rougher. Even if you have the damage there, the setup needs to be there. But with Panda C having Prio, could just set up for a strong topside 3v3 overall for the side of LNG.
You can see already, he was trying to make it back in the brush, but Looks like Breathe has the wave under his control, while Wei now sets up with the lens, and the ping goes down from LNG. Game 2, what was it, Game 1 or Game 2, Lyric, where Gala saw the skies bloom on the Rift and decided to stay in lane for a little bit longer. Not going to happen this time with the top lane of LNG, as Panda, even under turret here, going to demand some attention from Tarzan already.
Oh, but Tarzan's waiting, knowing a play like this can happen. So already doing a nice job of defending Panda C from any plays able to come out, but look at the mini-map. Yeah. Mid laners starting to make their way up here as well.
Xiaohu's going to be first, but remember the movement speed passive on Doinb. But look at Doinb's mana bar. I mean, if Xiaohu comes up, he's definitely going to have better rotation, as LNG are still here playing passive and nothing comes of it. So RNG for the time being, Lyric, wave off the dive, and actually do have an early game lead worth mentioning here with a jungle camp here for Wei. More so a CS lead for Breathe in the top lane.
Doing a nice job to get that top lane set up. Also highlighting the fact that we saw right LNG's bot lane getting that Scuttle Crab. So making sure at least RNG not able to get too much vision and too much information, or even just, you know, small bit of gold and nice bit of XP down there as well for their own bottom lane. So nothing too dramatic happening just yet. Panda did use his TP to get back top to where Breathe only walked. Yep. So if any, you know, bad trades come out, he will still have that to be able to get back to lane and have a fine time. Or even if he finds a roam timer and like wants to look to impact somewhere else. But speaking of roam timers, Wei's here. Xiaohu also hovering in river, but looks like he's gonna make his way down as well.
Oh, okay, well, Wave's pushing against him, and now with the Gravitum, the flash away from Lumao a little bit late. It's burned out by Wave, but he flashes onto the traps with Ignite down. Ming flashing in. The Shield of Daybreak spells disaster for LNG.
RNG find it. Ming and Gala setting it up. Gravitum there. The LEona stun as well. I love the follow-up with the flash, knowing that they can finish it off as we see Panda actually proxying between Breed's turrets. Does have to be a little bit respectful, but after getting the wave, looks like he is going to back off. So far, nice start for RNG in terms of being able to find that proactivity that we were setting up. We know is going to come from Xiaohu and Wei, but right here, Gala, landing the shotgun shot to get the stack of the Gravitum on, locks him down. Ming follows through, and then here, looks like they're going to back off, but I love it. Ming's like, no, we can finish off this kill. Wei goes in with a W, and looks like maybe he snuck in the queue as well to be able to guarantee that kill.
Same as Game 1, Lyric. Ming's LEona on point. I mentioned it before because it was the WE Game 3 where RNG relied on Ming so heavily. Once again, setting up for success here and giving the first kill over to Wei on this Viego, Lyric, already having a CS lead in jungle. And Ming looks like he's unleashed from the lane nice and early at the 6-minute mark.
Ming looking for opportunities, hover up towards mid, try and get some vision down of your own, sets up for Xiaohu to be able to continue getting push in this lane, and it sets up for a nice back and forth, right, of just kind of pivot mid to bot, mid to bot, mid to bot, opening up for picks where you can. We are getting closer to Rift Herald being able to spawn, so if they can keep up that pressure in bot, especially if Xiaohu just keeps leaning in Fog of War like we've seen him do, then that sets up for their bot lane to be able to move first, and RNG potentially to be able to have an advantageous setup for that Herald. But looks like RNG may be looking for an invade in the enemy jungle first.
Xiaohu's level 7 here, has ulti available. Tarzan without 6. Gonna need a smite here, but as blue resets, RNG move into the jungle handedly. And the bottom lane of Light and Lumao are still so precarious. They don't want to go in themselves. Ming now, Zenith's Blade was blind, and LNG weren't in the brush to receive it.
No, so not able to find anything. We're still able to take away the Gromp, and this will transition into a bot side scuttle for them as Panda...
Or not.
Panda now playing on the knife's edge, just continuing to proxy between these turrets, having easy access to be able to escape. And Breed's just not willing to go toe-to-toe with the fact that Counter-Strike being available. Now both having level 6 as well. We also need to remember that Xiaohu's been moving a lot and hovering around the bottom lane, to where Doinb has been much more staying in lane, which also could just open him up to be able to get the top side faster, react first, and potentially take Breed down if he did over-regress.
Now that he's got level 6 as well, Lyric, we talked a lot about the LNG mid jungle and how it functions in this game. Tarzan 6-2, so there is now an element of matching it, especially in front of the Herald that's now just spawned, and both those mid laners now ready to move.
Yeah, we do see Doinb now having prio, being able to move up there first. I wonder if LNG, you look up for maybe a gank or a pick towards top first, because you're right. Lots of trades.
Gala is level 6 himself, but doesn't burn the ulti. Waiting for the support to get level 6 too, as the wave gets thinned out, and for now, it's just a ward placed down by RNG. No one moving to the Herald. And as Xiaohu picks up the blue buff, I guess we're going to have a much slower early game here, Lyric, with RNG still maintaining a 1k gold lead.
And look at Tarzan. Tarzan's actually making his way down towards the bottom lane. Things were coming out, and it looks like they're kind of being conscious of like, hey, we don't want to fight up towards top side for this Herald. Instead, we're going to look to make a counterplay around bot.
But the biggest question is, I mean, giving the Herald away, will it be successful for LNG as Panda still doing well by himself? But Wei starting this Herald. Guys, look, bot, as Lyric was saying, Tarzan's going to make the play here, but Doinb's backed off, Lyric. The wave's been pushed in, and right now they only have 3.
Yeah, it seems like they committed a little bit too early, hoping for an overstep, and it made it so Doinb has to go back to lane. Now a reset comes out, Gala can back off, just completely like missing a window to be able to make a play. Nice read by RNG to not let anything go down. Still will give over plates to light, and heck, Gala is losing golden experience with the minions, so
Sure.
It's not all for nothing in terms of having so many resources committed towards the bottom side, but you're definitely not getting as much as what RNG can potentially get with the Herald.
I mean, as well, Xiaohu wasn't able to lose too many minions in the mid wave, and he's actually up by 15 CS too as well. So RNG maintain the gold lead, and they have the Herald, as Doinb is back, just came through, but it was interrupted. Now going to have to go back under a turret while the next wave crashes in, and Xiaohu's here, still with a blue buff, Lyric. That clear is coming through fast.
Yeah, he's going to be able to push this in. He's going to open up a window for himself. So now Doinb not even being able to recall, and RNG being so fast with this Herald, knowing that LNG's bot lane going for that reset after the play coming through. They do have to be careful with how low Wei is, though.
Yeah, maybe a bit too fast with the Herald push. Took 2 turret shots in the making as well, but Gala has the right guns, and Doinb doesn't have the ult. He doesn't have mana. I mean, that hurts so much, Luke. I feel like that's a domino play.
100% right. Nice read of RNG to realize that Doinb, I mean, needs to back. Xiaohu forcing him to stay in lane longer, not having the resources, which allows you to commit even more to the bot side in that way. Not having to be scared, despite the fact that he did come to lane with about 50% HP. Now you back off. You've got a nice bit of gold on your AD carry. You can come on the map stronger with a nicer power spike.
I just love the camera going up top side, though. Meanwhile, when we're talking about what's happening in the action at the top lane, Panda obviously wants to play Singed on the main stage somewhere soon. As 4-bits turret plating, we're taking to the bottom side, mind you. We do have Gala at a very comfortable position here with probably the means to get close to buying that Mythic first. While Lyric, Panda has now moved on to Scuttle Crabs. He also wants the jungle as well. This is nice to watch.
It's also really interesting, right? Because I feel like a lot of times when people bring out the Jax, like we see the Jax versus Gwen matchup, we have like a lot of heavy trading coming through. And I mean, you know, top laners in the LPL looking for those solo kills, to where Panda's just been looking for the PvE RPG gameplay experience, which I'm all for, right? He knows, like, hey, I'm scaling up just fine, you know, into the mid and late games.
Oh,
Xiaohu.
Solar Flare comes through, but it's at the same time. Cleanse won't matter, though, as Tarzan gets the kick. But Wei was not on the opposite side. Ignite down, and the Frozen Thralls almost killed Tarzan in the making. A 2-0 start here, Lyric, and RNG so coordinated with these setups.
Beautiful coordination. It goes back to what we hit on earlier as well, right? About the setup kind of being easier for the side of RNG just for the fact that you have that Lissandra there, and it's guaranteed CC as compared to the opposing side with the Taliyah or the Seismic Shove, right? It'll just be a gamble if you're able to find that or not. A lot more about actually being able to move first on the opposing side, but RNG find it. Ming able to get there first as well with the prio and the pressure they were able to garner and bot with the Rift Herald, so nice movement coming out from the side of RNG as we get up playing the left hand of our screen.
Yeah, Xiaohu was backing in a brush up, trying to push down mid-turret. Glacial Prawl taken, excuse me. It's a claw, not a prawl. We'll try again later. As Ignite was actually used on the top side here by Breathe. Panda almost going down. Xiaohu's still here with Flash. And you can see that he's like, wait, I was running away, but now I want to kill me Panda.
Yeah, his ult's very close to being up as well. Probably doesn't even need it. The fact that he does have that, oh, wow.
Yeah, almost dies. I mean, the Flash might be used. He takes the Glacial Thrall as, wow, why is this so hard? Gala gets turret on the bottom side, Lyric. Glacial Claw. Third time's the charm.
And Gala able to get a turret on the bot side is, you know, I don't know 90% of the ability names. You know, big, important ults, that is what matters in life. But RNG able to get bot lane turret. They didn't lose anything out in mid either, despite the fact that Xiaohu's very close to going down. picking up Dragon. Like, once again, it feels like we're at a place without that same lead coming through for LNG in Game 2 that we get to a point where RNG are able to play out this mid game. They're pretty much answering everywhere on the map. And even now we can see LNG got some nice vision down into the opposing side jungle. RNG have already started to clear some of it out in the bottom lane. Doesn't look like they'll spot that control ward, but LNG also having vision in the top side. So should at least have an idea of wherever RNG are trying to make plays. The question is, can they answer it? Because we still haven't really seen any impact coming from this Taliyah or this Weaver's Wall.
I mean, there's been no roaming coming through from Doinb. 0-1 stuck in lane, and 30 CS down as well. As Lumao walks into the brush, the Solar Flare locks him down. He's stuck in place. As he goes golden, Xiaohu stops the recovery effort with Doinb getting locked down as well. The flash over, and the Moonlight Vigil. Beautiful as the pressure lane almost connects on top of Light. This RNG roster set up for success, and Lyric, when the draft suits, RNG's options exceed.
100%. RNG looks so comfortable playing out this style. Not only having a 3K gold lead, but also being 2 dragons up. Now going to go into this lane allocation, right? You have Xiaohu down in the bottom lane. You keep Gala in mid, continuously push out. You can have Xiaohu start roaming up once he gets his wave pushed in past the neutral point. Or if you just set up looking for picks with Wei and Xiaohu, because that really does feel like where the pain point comes out. I also want to highlight Ming for the fact that we hit on mid lane not panning out, which I guess we can talk about in a moment because replays come first as Ming sets this one up, right? Zenith Blade into the Solar Flare. Xiaohu on the opposite side, kind of locking down Doinb, at least not allowing him to follow. And we have tons of potential action coming through.
Yeah, we do. I mean, locking down Doinb, that narrative's going to stay there. LNG trying to make a play on the opposite side of the map with the second Herald while Xiaohu was spotted, especially without his TP. As they both back away, we know who will be their first Lyric, but can LNG stay on this?
I mean, they definitely have the ability, like they have numbers first, right? But RNG have never shied away from a fight, like being at a numbers disadvantage, especially around Rift Herald. Ming?
I mean, Ming starting it up with the Solar Flare going in first. He gets knocked around. Ming going golden, buys time, but breathe. Now the first layer of the needlework, and Doinb with the Weaver's Wall to come in, but Xiaohu has rejoined the party, and LNG, a health bar's ticking down right now as Xiaohu gets himself a flash in again. Lissandra and Xiaohu spot the difference. They're the same bloody picture.
And RNG never back down from the fight at Herald. I remember we had a prominent one in spring. We had a fight against T1 as well at MSI of RNG not caring if they're a man down when the fight starts. They believe they could buy time. They could believe maybe they could pop one member off. They could make it work, and they did it once again. Ming did go down, but still, you find a kill back of your own. You force the other members low enough to where you're able to get the Herald. It starts here. Again, just look at the position on the minimap. Doinb, of course, we're going to hear first because he has the Weaver's Wall. They go in. Ming, though, everything thrown at him. Lee Sin kick comes out. Nautilus ulti used. And once Xiaohu gets involved, Gala was already getting a ton of DPS onto Panda C coming forward. And then, like you said, keep your eyes on Xiaohu. Breathe hits a nice needlework onto Panda, which forces him out. But then the flash into the ultimate comes out for Xiaohu, and it gives Gala his first kill of the game.
Well, Gala gets one. I mean, Xiaohu gets credit, and I feel like right now RNG are deserving of the win. It's almost a 5K gold lead at 16 minutes in the game. The Dragon stacking in their favor. Lyric, let's remind everyone again, you talked a lot about the early game for LNG being mid-jungle. We know they have scaling elements, but I think the biggest problem is that Panda hasn't had too much attention. He's going fine against the Gwen, but RNG's elements, more so online in Gala, in Xiaohu, everything is starting a snowballing effect.
And Ming, because I feel like for RNG, right, we saw a lot more cooperation between mid-jungle support, which has always been their catalyst, right? Mid-jungle support. So for LNG, it was much more separated, right? I mean, Doinb wasn't really interacting with anyone. He wasn't roaming, but no one else was really coming mid to maybe help him push his lane or relieve pressure. Or like Lumao did come mid once, but was behind Ming because RNG had already generated pressure bot first. And RNG just kind of did, like, met the checklist better than LNG did. But Xiaohu, you might be going down again, my dude. He does have ult available, but no one is even close by.
I mean, the wave clear there. The glacial path going to be taken. Ultimate used from the depth charge. Lumao was tanking, and now it's up to Doinb as the seismic shove's great as well. Under turret, Tarzan will still survive. So
just look at the minimap, though.
Lyric, that's got a good response from RNG, to say the least.
Yeah, RNG, no one near, so LNG were definitely going to get the kill, but looks like they're going to end up losing 2, maybe 3 turrets, depending on what the status of bot lane turret is right now. They have complete vision control for this Dragon, I mean, they get absolutely everything off this. You said before that they were almost at a 5K gold lead. Now, actually sitting at that, going to be able to pick up a dragon as well.
Yeah. Third dragon, Infernal Soul this game, folks. RNG, all we can do is talk them up. And on the other side for LNG, I will say, Lyric, you know, this time around, as you said, LNG didn't really have an early game. Doinb wasn't able to move. Tarzan wasn't able to accelerate him. And it's not like the Poppy games where these level 2, level 3 ganks came in this innovative path. Tarzan, on his most internationally recognized champion, is having a quiet one.
And, right, heck, that in itself is a bit of a problem, right? That LNG so reliant on their junglers just finding these opportunities to be able to link together. I mean, just shows the communication's not there, right? Which I think is something that has been pretty evident from just the mistakes that LNG consistently make in games. Is Ming looking for the Zenith Blade, close, but not able to find it. And then LNG just going to mid games like this, like, it sucks, right? Because it's not like LNG, when we talk about LNG's problems, it's not like they're just gonna like smashed or stomped every game. It's that games go like this where it's like, okay, you just kind of slowly see them fall behind. Nothing really came together, and they're just kind of slowly fizzing out. Still not, hope is not lost, right? They have a Jax, they have a Jinx, who Jinx is going to outrange everyone on the other side if Light can escape the engage, because RNG do have a ton of it, but definitely not down and out for LNG, even if this game is in an amazing position with RNG, especially that soul point. I feel like that is the biggest thing for me going forward, because RNG have options when you're on soul point, right? You could you could be like, okay, you have dragon, we go for a Baron, or we go for like pushing top lane turret, getting more gold. It just gives you so many more ways to mind game the enemy, play the map, to where LNG kind of have to hard tunnel into that dragon, which also just means that they're telegraphed. RNG knows what they're going to do in 3 minutes time.
I mean, RNG's mid game, their mind game in and of itself is how this team is so good in the mid games. We talk up RNG's mid game all the time. And for LNG, I feel like another core issue we've seen, not this series, of course, because we know that LNG's early games have been better in game 1 and 2. But Lyric, we talked a lot about this team not setting up dragon stacking earlier in the game and not really knowing direction outside of it as well. They're in that same position yet again. And it feels like in 2 minutes 30, we're going to find out if this game's just going to come to a crushing halt, or, as you say, if LNG are not out of the woods and are in an okay position to try and get to that point. I feel like right now for RNG, we're going to keep singing their praises because they continue to strangle out Vision. Baron live, Dragon will set up with a timer there, and LNG just don't have wards on the map.
No, and it's really hard for LNG to be... Oh.
As you were saying.
Well, I love how the question mark thing comes out as well. Oh, wait, Panda C?
Yeah, we got one more needlework. I mean, as he jumps away, needlework at the absolute tip, and Xiaohu's here, flash away, Ming says g'day, and with a blast cone, so close in reach, Xiaohu flashes over for the glacial tomb that seals Panda C's doom.
Panda C goes down, but that was 2 ultimates, an ignite, a TP, and a flash for RNG. So respectable effort coming from you, Panda. That is how much you're worth to RNG, which is quite a bit, quite a lot. So, you know what? For, again, rookie debut coming in, we take those.
Yeah, we do. There you go. Be positive. Because Panda C's had a rough game too. I feel like game 1, Lyric, he played his part quite nicely. However, right now, it does feel like this top laner Jax hasn't done too much in the game apart from want to play Singed. Breathe has been fine too, his 2 items, and a little bit ahead of this Jax while we gear up for Dragon. And I think item discussion here, Lyric, is perfect timing because we have 2 items on our jungler and RNG, almost 2 items here for Tarzan on the Lee-Sin. Crown was actually picked up by Doinb this game rather than Ludens or even the Leandries, so we have a bit of safety from our mid laner Doinb.
Yeah, it seems like he's definitely feeling the pressure in terms of the all-in potential able to come out from RNG, right? Because it's RNG's play pattern. Send in Xiaohu with Ming and Wei, burst someone down, so to be hoping if he can survive, maybe that like first ability, maybe be able to make it out of a fight, but also going to just hit your damage profile coming out for the side of LNG. Ming!
Oh, they're in a choke. Look, Xiaohu's come in. He might not have flash, but with the Solar Flare once again, and the Prison available, the Everfrost does its work as Wei wants his reset, and Light is not getting saved. Everyone tries to peel for the President, but the President is down. LNG have their top laner in a 1v3 as he counter-strikes. The Glacial Claw will seal his doom yet again, and Royal never give up. Slap an F on the forehead of Panda C.
So sad for the side of LNG. Now for RNG, I mean, this is Seoul. LNG don't look like they're in a position to be able to contest. Wei is down. You do have a smite on Tarzan. So if Tarzan can find a creative way to actually be able to get in range of Dragon, but nope. Looks like won't even go for it. He knows it's too risky with just how many members of RNG are up and the damage that is available. So with Infernal Soul, with the fact that we're at what looked like a 7k goldie before this replay, this should be all but done and dusted as Ming looks for the engage, finds another great solar flare, and then with Wei coming from one side, Breathe on the other.
Help.
Light just standing no chance in this fight. As Wei, will go down for his trouble, but still, the fact that they're also able to get Jax on the opposite side of the fight means, 2-for-1 trade in favor of RNG. They're still strong. They still have, very high health bars, and numerous members of LNG had already taken a little bit of a beating. And even look at summoner spells coming through, right? Light, no flash. Luma, no flash. Tarzan, no flash.
Oh, and Solar Flare again. Yeah, Luma, no flash and no hope. I feel like it's the needed work. Starts once again. Onto Luma, breathing backline. Good kick in from Tarzan, but Panda again has been put back in the zoo. Light's going to die to Breathe as Doinb flashes away. A good seismic shove, but Lyric, RNG with the Infernal Soul, that burst hurts, and Ming is picking up targets as even the dive into the base now has to be dealt with by Doinb. In front of two people, he's burnt to a crisp, and that's only his ult support. As RNG Lyric at 25 minutes, they're going to be running straight ahead, and all I can say to you is that RNG may have been challenged in game number 2, but this MSI champion continues to slam down their opponents. They'll move to 6 wins, and against LNG, who are revitalized, will once again show us that they are one of the best mid-game teams across this world.
And it doesn't matter if you ban out the Nautilus, if you pick away the Nautilus, Ming will still have an engaged champion to hunt you down and lock you down for the other members of RNG to be able to follow up. Great showing coming out from RNG. Again, rough game too, but that is a few early game mishaps where if you're not in that hole, right, maybe it doesn't become so unplayable in terms of just how the drafts had panned out, right? So you can kind of look at that one. You can boil that one down to a few mistakes, and then it becomes very hard. Overall, though, you hit on it. Their mid game still just absolutely beautiful to watch. On the opposite side for LNG, obviously for Panda C, not the debut you'd like, not the debut you'd want. To be fair to him, because again, I don't want to be too harsh on the guy. He was kind of just randomly pulled up because of how much this team is struggling, right? It's not like he came in as the planned top laner at the start of the split and actually got a fair showing. He had a very tough job, a job much tougher than I feel like a player should have to come in and save a roster that's struggling. But hey, for LNG, well, again, I'm a positive guy today. We'll take the silver linings. Poppy on Tarzan, terrifying. Poppy without Tarzan, we saw the game 3. Just sadly, nothing was even attempted to be chained together, not just from Tarzan, but again, it could be like what RNG were doing in game 3. You group up, whether it's in mid or bot, transfer pressure to the other lane, and it just becomes kind of like a never-ending chain where you've now created this prio in one lane, so that person can always move to the next lane. This other lane now is prio, and it just keeps going and keeps going. So RNG did that and utilized it nicely. LNG, we didn't really see that at all, and nothing came together.
No, it's sad. I mean, game 2, we could say something different, but the way RNG plays together, you're right, let's stick to the positivity because Ming, how he plays across the map, alongside Wei, alongside Xiaohu, the linking up of this team is so impressive. And that's why we were complimenting Xiaohu all game, even though we might have the score behind him. Xiaohu on Lissandra did more roaming than Doinb. I don't think I saw a Weaver's wall where Doinb flew through to help find the pick. We saw one wall across mid on Vision for the bottom lane. But Lyric, that wasn't the Taliyah that Xiaohu piloted in the first game, and that absolutely blew LNG wide open from the mid game onwards.
No, and the storyline just stays the same, right? Expectations are lowered, and you have every series a different member will be a standout, or 1 or 2 members, and some members will disappoint, right? So that's kind of what we expect from them going forward. They did still lose to RNG, so it's not like their last loss to FPX or a loss to a team where they're like, my God, how could you do that? This is RNG. RNG showed up strong, breathed 40% of the team's damage. I mean, in those fights, right, those needleworks were hitting absolutely everyone. The laning phase was kind of funny with the fact of how non-interactive it was, with you said Fantasy kind of cosplaying, what was it, Singed
Yep.
in that laning phase. But Breed stepped up. Breed had a good performance in this game 3. When in, especially game 1, right? Even the game RNG 1, felt like he didn't have to be a huge factor in their win. Not to say that he didn't do anything, but just the rest of the map was winning so hard, and he did enough. Good to see him step up. And 40% of the team's damage, when